So how do we prevent more attacks like this from happening? Let's bring in Fox News military analyst Major General Bob Scales. That is the question. How do we know that after Brussels and Istanbul that another airport attack isn't around the corner?
Well, we don't know that, Cheryl. In fact, I think one of the things that seems to be the central theme over the last few days is that airport security is essentially about ISIS, because you know, ISIS feels threatened on the ground in Syria and Iraq, and how do they strike back? Well, they go to what in essence is their skill set, which is anything to do with aircraft. They've had 5 successes over the last few months, and in all probability, I think, you know, the dream for ISIS is to be able to create an event in this country. And, you know, given the circumstances and their tenacity, and their dedication to willingness to die in order to blow up airplanes, I think the threat for the United States over the months ahead is extremely high.
So how do we protect ourselves? I mean, U.S. airports, just as similar to the security that you see at Turkey's air. I've been through that airport in Istanbul.
Yeah, I have
it's just
too.
like going through an American airport. So how can we protect ourselves here, especially on holiday weekends, and with security lines that are vulnerable? Those security lines are outside of the terminals.
Well, you know, the analogy I use is the idea of if we were playing hockey, we would only have a goalie on our side, and ISIS would have 6 offensive players. I mean, we could have the finest goalie in the world, but eventually a puck is going to get through, and I'm afraid that's the threat for the United States. There just aren't enough security forces in the United States to be 100% effective against ISIS. How do you beat ISIS? Is you defeat ISIS at home. You defeat them in their heartland. You strike at their center of gravity. You collapse ISIS as an institution, and that, in the long run, is what's going to make America safe.
The administration keeps telling us that ISIS is on the run, but this new tactic it doesn't look to me like they're on the run. It looks like they're probably, you know, there's a victory lap happening with ISIS right now after Istanbul.
Yeah, remember now, ISIS skill set is anything to do with airplanes, because they know that striking at an airport or striking an aircraft creates international waves, and it's exactly what they seek to do. And it's also important, Cheryl, to realize that as we get better and better at security, they get better and better at terrorism. Remember,
right.
this group in Istanbul, these are essentially the Navy SEALs of ISIS. This was their most experienced, most competent, most dedicated group that they've put against airports ever.
Right.
So they get better. They learn. They're a learning organization. Want to defeat them? Strike ISIS at their heart rather than on the periphery.
But their heart is using social media in particular. And I do want to ask you about this unfolding situation that we're watching right now out of Bangladesh. You've got a hostage situation, and this bakery where this is taking place right now is 1 mile from the U.S. Embassy. We don't know if there's a connection, but could this be related to that homegrown terror that ISIS seems to be trying to feed on around the world?
Yeah, that's a great question, and clearly this seems to be homegrown. Two things at play here. Number one, they're striking at the heart of Dhaka, which is not to strike at Bangladeshis, but to strike at Westerners. And number two, the Bangladeshis are not really known for being good at security, so they're a very vulnerable part in the Islamic world. So this is a target of opportunity, clearly a lone wolf operation. But you know, look at the repercussions globally at this local event. It's just another means for ISIS to establish their credibility in the world by killing people.
All right. General Bob Scales, on airport security, a big topic this weekend in particular. General, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Cheryl.